Hello and welcome to this instalment of Talkin Trim. I'm Jonathon Skinner and today we're looking at the front seat covers and headrest covers for the Triumph TR6. Also included in this video will be references to the seat hardware that you'll need for the reupholstery process, as well as some basic reference examples to how that hardware is fitted onto the seat frames and some examples of some trim seats that we're currently working on at the moment. Now, this particular style of seat cover is for the very last version of the TR6 production run seats. As I'm sure you all aware, there were 5 different versions of seat covers during the production run of the TR6, and this was the very last version. It went from sort of mid to late 1972 up until the end of the 1976 production run. It's the reclining version with the stalk headrest as detailed by those seats on screen at the moment there. Commonly, any car with a chassis number with CR or CF at the front of it had these seats fitted, and they were common to both the North American and the rest of the world market, unlike the earlier versions of the TR6 seats where they had 2 different versions, one for the North American markets and another one for the rest of the world market, so do bear that in mind. On that note, it is worth noting that I have done other videos showcasing not just this style of seat cover in various different material options and trimmed up versions, but also the other seat covers as well. So it'd be worth checking those out as and when you get the chance. Some of the videos will be linked at the end of this one, so be sure to click on those and have a look. But this particular seat cover is for, like I say, the last version, the CRCF version, reclining stalk headrest, 1972 1976 era. Now, when it comes to seat covers, we offer a 3-tier option in terms of materials. At one end of the scale, you've got vinyl Amler. At the other end of the scale, you've got full leather, where there is no vinyl whatsoever. And then you have a middle ground option, which is what we refer to as leather-faced. Leather-faced means exactly that. The facings of the seats are leather, but the backs and the surrounds are still vinyl. It's worth noting at this stage that a lot of companies out there refer to that as leather. Which should not be confused with our full leather option, which barely anyone else, if anyone else, offers in the industry, where there is no vinyl involved whatsoever. Everything is leather. And this particular set of seats, this bright red set of seats, is a full leather option, so there is no vinyl on this whatsoever. Even the retainers down here are leather, the inside of these pocket bits are leather, retainer on the backrest is leather, the surrounds here are leather. Everything, back of the backrest are leather. So that's an upgrade option. You might have had a couple leaving the factory in sort of full leather, normally for sort of foreign-based diplomats for special orders, but the majority of the seat covers left with vinyl Amler, with a decent amount leaving in the Leatherfaced specification as well, but very rare to have a full leather. But this is an upgrade full leather kit, and it looks the absolute pass, as you can see. Let's just reference this in a book. So we're talking about these seats here with a stalk headrest, and this is the vinyl Amler set as per original from the factory. You can see it has this little emboss pattern on the pleats, which was a key signature of those particular style of TR seats with the vinyl Amber of that era, which we can offer. It's this effectively diamond shape here with a very small dimple right in the center of the diamond shape there. And again, I do encourage you to watch other videos I've done on my YouTube channel, because I've done some that purely show the kind of OEM factory spec, original from the factory. So the majority of them left with vinyl Amber with that embossed pattern on them. Some would have left with a decent amount would have left with the leather-faced option, and very few would have left with full leather. They almost certainly would have been full leather, special orders from the factory. Now, when it comes to leather-faced and full leather seats, it's worth noting that whereas the vinyl Ambler had this pattern on them, when it went to leather-faced or full leather, the pleats would have just been plain. They would have had no pattern on them whatsoever. It would have just been the sort of leather pattern there. However, we can offer this pattern on leather if you'd like, which is actually what this customer's gone. So he's gone for his upgrade option there. He's gone for this embossed leather look. Now, it's not the same as the original, but it's a nice nod, and that's what people like sometimes, is a nice nod to originality with these sorts of things. So that is an optional extra for any leather-faced or full leather seats. We can offer that embossed pattern there, but like I say, it's not original for that era of Triumph TR production on those ones there. Right, let's dive into these actual set of seats here. So they are bright red, full leather, using our grained leather. Majority of our seats a majority of our colours are available in either grained or smooth leather. This gentleman has gone for the grained leather, and then he's gone for the extra emboss pattern on the pleats there. Like I say, they are full leather upgrade kits, so basically everything on this seat is leather apart from the piping, which is leather cloth. Even that's worth noting. We offer, as standard, piping in leather cloth for the majority of our colours. I think 90% of the colours are available in leather cloth, so therefore we pipe in leather cloth where available. A lot of other companies do pipe in vinyl. They are chalk and cheese in terms of the suitability of those sorts of things. We only pipe in vinyl when we're forced to, in terms of the colour selection, which is normally a very off-piste, random colour. But we do like to talk to our customers about it, because vinyl, when it's used for piping, makes the piping very bulbous and big and very easy to snag as well. Whereas leather cloth is a very unique material. It's thinner than vinyl, but it has a very robust surface to it, which makes it ideal for piping. I'm not going to spend too much time on that, because I am planning on doing a vlog and a video detailing the importance of using leather cloth for your piping there. But needless to say, that suffice to say that we offer leather cloth as standard for the majority of our colours available there. Anyway, so back to the spec of the seat here. So like I say, full leather, so absolutely everything on this is in leather. Just FYI, if you were going down the leather-faced option, then the bits that would be leather would be the side panels and front panel here, and of course the pleated panel here. And then the vinyl bit would be this retainer and this surrounds here. For the backrest, similar concept, pleated panel, side bolsters, a leather, retainer here, the surround that goes all the way around the back, the top, and then the back of the backrest, they would all be vinyl there. So it's basically just the bits that touch your body are leather, with everything else in vinyl there. When it comes to the headrest covers, you only had two options. You either had it vinyl or leather. So obviously vinyl headrests were used for vinyl seats, leather headrests were used for leather-faced and full leather seats. So that's basically the spec of the seats in terms of the materials. Let's actually look at the seat covers. So the seat covers we sell as a pair, i.e. enough to do a car set, so 2 seats worth. The cushions aren't handed, the backrests are handed. Let's start with the cushions. So obviously you have your pleated panel, genuine tuck and roll pleats. You can just have a quick look at that. All of our seat covers that have pleats in them are genuine tuck and roll, and that's to say basically that the actual foam itself is effectively sliced down to a certain depth. Then the leather is effectively folded in to the slice and out again and stitched at the same time, so you actually get a definition pleat. It's going in and out. A lot of other companies don't go to those sorts of levels. So it's worth keeping that in mind. So genuine tuck and roll pleats. Obviously it's piped as per original specification. Generally speaking, the Triumph TR6s had matching piping to the main trim. So whatever the main trim colour was, the piping was as well, which was a step away from the earlier TRs, which had contrasting piping, normally white. We can obviously offer whatever piping colour you want. It changes the pricing spectrum. If you go for a contrasting colour piping, then you'll get into our custom colour scheme pricing element of things. It's worth noting as well, when we're on that subject, we have what we refer to inner and outer piping. The inner piping are the inside parts here, the outer piping is the outside parts here. Just on the backrest as well, these 2 bits here are considered inner piping, and then the 2 rows that you have going around the sort of backrest element, top part there, are considered the outer piping. So yeah, piped, pleated. On the underside you have the side bolsters are foamed up, as is the front panel there, adds some nice extra definition during the trimming process. And then you had scrim sewn onto the piece as well. So you had a left and right either side of the pleated panel, which I will explain in a second when we get to the seat foam element of things. Then you also had one at the front, just before that front panel there. You then also had, if I can get to it, that piece on the very outside there, which basically goes around the circumference of the seat frame. Again, I will explain that when we get to the seat foam side of it. Then obviously you had the retainer there. So that's the cushion there. Like I said, they are not handed, and you get 2 of them per car set. Backrest, squab, whatever you want to call it. Again, you get a pair, but these are actually handed. They are left and right hand as you're sat forward in the car. Now, we do label these up. There you are, right hand. But failing that, always look out for triangles. If you see those big triangles on certain pieces, it means it's the right hand of the car, and that's universal effectively. So that means if you're sat in the car just facing forward, it will be on the right hand of the car. It doesn't matter which side of the car your steering wheel is on, which country you're in, anything like that, near side, offside. Ignore all of that. We just try to do it as simple as possible. If you sat in the car, if it's got triangles on it, then it's on the right side of the car. Okay, so yeah, seat cover, again, genuine chuck and roll pleats on the pleated panel backrest there. Then you had these side bolster pieces, which are the handed pieces. You can see one's slightly pointier, the other one's slightly rounder. That is to allow literally the hood frame to pass by on the seat frame. So if you imagine staring at the car from the front of the car through the sort of windscreen or whatnot, the outside edge of the seat, it sort of tapers up a lot sharper to allow the hood frame to pass by without it hitting the top corner of said seat cover. So as you can see, this is obviously the right hand one here. So if you were in a car here, you'd want the hood frame to pass by that corner, so it takes a sharper angle on that one there. So that's the handedness of the backrest covers there. So side bolsters, the side bolsters actually get a thick foam padding on them, but not all the way down, because you want to be able to tuck that away during the trimming process, which I will show in due course. Then you had this surround which went round the top and has the chrome fixing in there for obviously the headrest stalk to go inside of there, all the way around. That has a pocket element to it, which allows for the woodwork pieces of the seat mechanism, which I'll touch on in a second, to go inside. And then the back of the backrest is sort of two pieces sewn together. Again, that gets sort of tucked around, and again I'll show you the trimmed up version of the seat there. But like I say, that's a full leather version of the seat there. On the inside, like I say, you've got some foam padding for extra definition, etc. Then you also have this scrim here, which, if I can turn that over, you have this big scrim part that is literally stitched in during the pleating process there, and that is to allow for the trimming process on the backrest foam there. So that's the backrest cover. Now the seat covers are sold as a pair, so you get a pair of backrests and two cushions there because they're not handed. Also included in that seat cover kit are the woodwork pieces for the mechanisms, not including this metal bracket, which I want to reference later. And obviously you would have one in there as well, which I've just borrowed for there, but that is included as standard in the seat cover kit there, and they are the bits that go into the seat mechanism sides there. So that's included in the seat cover kit. However, the headrest covers are sold separately to the seat covers. So let's go on to the headrest covers. Headrest covers, you get two of them per car set, and that's how we sell them. We've basically tried to sell the majority of our kits per car set. There's very few items we sell singly that you would need two of, if you follow. Headrest covers, either available in vinyl or in leather, as I mentioned earlier, and they're diddly little covers. They have top stitching detail going around the ears of them there, and they obviously have the fold back in the slot at the bottom, which is for where the foam gets inserted inside, along with obviously the framework spade element of the headrest itself. So that is the actual covers part of it all. Let's just quickly touch on the actual woodwork part, which is obviously part of the seat cover kit. You get four of these panels, which basically live inside of the side pockets of the backrest surrounds there, and they end up being down there, which where the seat mechanism literally gets bolted through, but effectively they get clipped round and underneath these framework pieces, so they're part of the securing process to the actual seat cover trimming process there. So we supply the woodwork pieces. We also supply some spacers, which you may or may not need, dependent on the basically the setup of your seat. Literally, one of the seats we did a few weeks ago, I think 3 of them needed spacers, the other side didn't. So you won't necessarily always need these spacers, but they're useful to have. Then effectively, that it's a little stepped metal bracket there. That gets riveted on to it, and that's what clips underneath the element of the framework there. Now, this particular red set of seats was missing these. Customer actually says biscuit set at the back. This is his opposite hand here. He hasn't got any of those metal brackets, so they hadn't actually been trimmed properly. These are obviously aftermarket seats, albeit old ones. So they haven't been trimmed properly, and we're a bit sort of loose in that area there. You can see, shouldn't be able to do that because they should be locked in place by the clip there. So what we've had to do is improvise, which is what this is here. So we've you can see the actual normal position of it there, but effectively we've got one of our spacers. We've cut up a bit of metal to allow for it there. We've actually had to change the position of it just because of the way the seat was a bit warped, shall we say. But yeah, it's just to show you that you can kind of improvise and make a bit of a stepped panel there, so do bear that in mind. But generally speaking, you should be able to just use these along with your original metal stepped brackets there, and job done. So like I say, they are included as standard in the seat cover kit. Now let's go on to some of the seat hardware parts. Let's start with the cushion bases, the bit your bum goes on. So underneath the foams, which I'll come to in a second, you have the diaphragms. The diaphragms effectively act as a spring in inverted commas, and they first started introducing them during the late TR4s, and then they carried on all the way up until the end of the last TR6 production run. And this style here is very much based on the original styles. I couldn't say for sure whether it's original or not, but it's certainly excuse me, certainly the one that was originally fitted to the car in terms of the design. They have been superseded in recent years by this style here, which are a bit squarer. You do still get the fixings included, and they are very robust. You can see the thickness of them there. So yeah, we sell those, that style there, the sort of squarer style now. We do sell them in pairs, so a car set basically, and they do include the fixings, but you have to insert the fixings during the fitment process, which is not an easy job, and I will touch on that in a little while. Moving on to the backrest side of things, get that metal bracket out of the way, you have the seat webbings. Seat webbings are effectively akin to the diaphragms in terms of what they do, and they are strapped to the back of the seat frame like this. So these are the seat webbings here. In fact, this is the seat diaphragm all fitted to this framework here. Then you have the seat webbings all here. Now, commonly and currently, we supply seat webbing kit in a roll with fixings. You get just over 6 meters and then all of the fixings there, and we don't bother cutting any of them. We leave that down to you. However, due to popular demands, we are going to start introducing pre-made webbings such as these ones here, which we've obviously made for this other hand here. So for each of the TR4, TR4A, TR5/250 and all of the different TR6 versions of the seats, we will in course be offering webbing kits pre-cut and fixed into place so that you can effectively put them onto the framework. But standardly, we offer the meterage and we ask you to do the work yourself. And the reason was, years ago, my father used to offer pre-done kits, but there were too many people saying they were done to the wrong lengths and things. And we know they're not. We just know that you have to pull extremely hard to get them. You know, you want them to be like guitar strings twanging away, or like a drum. They're meant to be extremely rigid in there. You don't just sort of put a piece along and put the fixings in willy-nilly. You want there to be resistance in them, because especially over the course of time, you're going to find that they will loosen up, so you want to start as tight as possible. So we will be doing that as an option. We're always going to keep the option for people to do it themselves, but we will be doing it as an option. These are some of the original webbings here, as you can see. So we actually use official Pirelli webbing as well, which is by far and away the best webbing in the world for these sorts of things. And the way they're put in is, this is effectively the front side here, and then this is the underside here. So we basically recommend that you do the one piece going through and then onto the back, and that's where the reinforcement plate comes in, and then you have these pieces on the side here. Now again, the seat frames did change over the course of time in terms of the holes and whatnot, so you'll see that the bits that clip in, they're not the correct shape effectively for all of the different TR seats, so you do have to get these bent basically. And I've taken a video and a couple of photos of my chap doing these seats here to show you. Just get it in a vise and just bend them to fit your frame. So don't expect them to be plug and play. You do want to play with them. and bend them to get them into the correct shape, so bear that in mind. But yeah, that's the effective concept of the seat webbings, and like I say, for each of the different TR frames the seat webbings did change, but 6 meters easily covers all the different variants, and you'll actually end up probably with a bit spare left over, so bear that in mind. But yeah, like I say, we do plan on offering pre-done ones, but at this point in time, we offer that, which is enough for a pair of seats, a car set's worth of seats. And obviously, when we offer the pre-done ones, there will be enough for a pair of seats there. So that is the backrest sort of rubber sections, the springy sections. Let's just have a quick look here and go over the elements before we move on to the foams. So you obviously got the diaphragms there, all the clips in. Again, I've done a video showing this. They are very, very tight fitting, very hard to do. We generally recommend that you start off the extremities first, so go sort of diagonally as possible first. But it is literally a case of getting some mold grips and brute force. You can try and warm up the rubber slightly with a hairdryer. That will give a bit of extra play, but it's not much. Ultimately, it's down to brute force. And like I say, they are not easy to do. But yeah, you can see just how rigid that is there, and that's how you want it. And then obviously the webbings, all the way, so you can see they have different lengths and whatnot. And this is the backside of them all there. Ignore that clip, that's just so we don't lose it. So that is effectively the rubber sections of both the cushions and the backrest. Let's move on to the seat foam padding kit. So the seat foam padding kit, again, we sell it very similar to what the seat cover is. You get the actual seat cover paddings sold as a set, then you get the headrest foam sold as a set. Let's start with the headrest, just to get them out of the way. So these are sold separately to the actual seat foam padding kit. So you get a pair of them, i.e. 2 of them, and they're cut foam. They have a slot in them there for obviously where the framework spade goes in. And then you literally have to wrestle that in there. And if you look at the sort of differences on them there, again, this is a common sort of thing we have, is the headrest covers are too small. They're not. You just have to wrestle the foam in there. And the idea being that basically you want it to be forcing the cover out to get the best finished plumpness in the actual seat cover itself, sorry, headrest cover itself. So just do bear that in mind. None of these things are plug and play. Trimming is an organic process, etc, etc. So bear that in mind. So the headrest foams are sold separately to the rest of the parts, so bear that in mind. And then the seat foam kit itself, you effectively get, for one singular seat, you get a backrest foam there, cushion foam, which is actually split up into, well, 3 pieces actually. You get this surround here, this base here, and this surround here as well. So that is what you receive for one seat for the seat foam kit, but the seat foam kits are sold as a car set, so you get enough in our seat foam kit for 2 seats. Obviously, I've only laid one out here because I've used the other one in the seat cover over there. Now let's just touch on the actual seat foam itself. What you've effectively got is this surround here, which goes around this bit here. So this effective framework round here. So you get a pair of those, or 2 of those. Then the actual base foam itself, you get this bit that literally sits on top of the diaphragm and framework, and then you get this surround here. Now, I'm not going to go too much into trimming because we do plan on doing some proper guides, but the general concept overall is that well, there are kind of 2 trains of thought on the trimming process. Some people literally glue that to there, etc., and then they get the seat cover and start trimming it round. But actually what we've found traditionally works better is you mark on the square there for where the surround effectively goes. Then these little rectangles here are the scrims underneath, 1, 2, 3. And you effectively glue those down into place. So you kind of stick that there, turn it inside out effectively, glue the scrims down flat on there. And then once that's kind of centrally glued down and the scrims glued down, you then kind of slot that in and turn everything over. And that's the way we found it actually trims better. But either way, that's the cushion base. So you've effectively got 3 bits of foam there that make up the cushion base foam padding there. Then the backrest foam, ever so slightly handed as per my explanation earlier about the side bolsters there, but it's effectively this one piece here of layered different elements of foam, and then it has this slit in the middle here, which is what that black scrim in the center pleat over here is for. That gets pulled through, comes out here, and literally you end up gluing it down to elements of the sort of webbings on the back, etc. You literally pull it all the way through here onto the elements on the back, and it gives you that definition. You can see as it dips in there. So that's the backrest foam there. So again, seat foam kit, only one on display there, but they are sold as a car set there. Now, lastly, you've got some extra bits that we kind of recommend that you have. We can obviously supply these for you if you want. We are just about to start offering these panels here are designed to go on the back here during the trimming process, and it just means that you don't get the headrest stalk protruding out into the actual leather at the bottom there. You can see here it's nice and firm there. So it wasn't original at all, but it's a nice addition. So we are definitely going to be adding those to our listings of offerings for this particular style of seat there. So again, we will sell those in car sets, and they are ever so slightly handed to go with the framework. Then you've got seat wadding. Seat wadding is effectively, it's a cotton material, and it's great for filling out certain areas of the seat where the air gap between the foam and the leather needs kind of filling and padding out. So we do recommend that you have some of that. Now, if you're getting a local upholsterer to do it, wadding is the sort of thing, as standard, they should be having lots of on site, because it's a no-brainer for a trimmer. But if not, we can sell that. We supply it in 8-meter bags, which should be ample for 2 seats there. So that's seat wadding. You then got the seat clips. You have 2 main types of seat clips. You have the tubular and then the small ones. The small ones are the main ones you use. Tubular ones are obviously for the tubular parts of the frames. If I just tilt the seat here, you can see these are all the normal small ones that go around the circumference, and then the tubular ones will get put onto that part there and that part there if you want. Obviously, we do recommend you actually glue the framework, and then the clips are sort of put there as an extra hold for the long term. You'll often find that seat clips are reusable, but if you don't have any, or some of them are a little worse for wear, do let us know, and we just sell these singularly. So just let us know how many you need. And then lastly, you have this element here, which is just a rectangle of foam. We're considering adding it to our seat foam kit, but we haven't yet decided. It was just during the trimming of the seat here, the guy's frame was a bit mangled, a bit worse for wear, and so we found that just adding a rectangle of foam going around here just helped with the finish around here. So I would say it's, you know, literally a rectangle of foam. So that's more of a tip of something that you might want to consider doing for that area there during the trimming process. But obviously we can supply some if you like there. That's about it. Now let's just have a quick look at obviously some of the in-between steps, as it were. So we've got obviously, well, we've got the rubber diaphragms and webbings, etc., attached to that frame there. Then this one here, we've glued on this surround here. We've just lightly glued that in place, mainly to just show you the concept of how it kind of looks. But obviously, 2 trains of thought on the way of trimming those. I wouldn't say either's right or wrong. It's whatever works best for you and yields the best results. But generally speaking, we recommend doing it that way, with inserting that after the fact. But just for the sake of the display of the seat foam, we've put this just very lightly glued in place there. Then you got the backrest element there, again just lightly glued into place, anchored into place, and we put that surround piece on there. Now you might find during the trimming process that you want to sculpt out, especially on the proper mechanism size, you might want to sculpt out an extra bit of the foam there. They are sculpted as standard, but we certainly found on that one there we wanted to take a bit more out, but then we ended up adding a bit more at the bottom here. So any bit of foam that you cut away, we recommend to keep hold of for extra bits and bobs there. Now you do have to effectively force all this into place. Again, they're not plug and play. If you put that foam kit onto that frame there, you'd think the foams are too big, but obviously everything gets pushed and condensed down in, and then when the seat cover is put on, it's effectively expanded out effectively, and that's what you want. You want the resistance of the foam pushing out against the actual seat cover itself. In terms of the backrest trimming, you effectively put this foam inside the seat cover. It's basically like a glove. You put it in there, you get the scrim coming through, and then at that point you're kind of inserting it onto the framework itself on that element of things. But like I say, we are going to be doing more in-depth guides to these, and some photos and videos are available at the moment if you're struggling at all. And then, as you can see, lovely results. We've only done one so far. I will be doing more videos to showcase these when they're all fully done there. But as you can see, the definition is absolutely lovely around these. No crinkles or creases, what you want to be aiming for, which is a combination of the wadding there, obviously experience and know-how, and then we have the luxury of having a steamer here, which is also very valuable for the trimming process there. But as you can see, really nice results all the way through, and that backrest panel is great as well, because it just means otherwise you get the bottom part of the headrest stalk protruding through the leather, which over the course of time is never going to be great. There's an element here on the bottom as well about how they're trimmed. You tend to find that this retainer here on a lot of the cars was actually trimmed underneath this mechanism here, but we've actually elected not to do that because that's the actual moving part of the seat in terms of the recliner mechanism, and so we thought it best to keep it as part of the actual backrest element of it. And ultimately it really doesn't make any difference in the aesthetics, and you can't even see it when it's in the car, so bear that in mind as well there. But yeah, I think I've covered myself there. Like I said, there will be some other videos following on from this showing these bright red seats fully trimmed up, the pair of them. But I thought that was a good overview, insight into the seat covers, the hardware, and how it all roughly goes together. Hope you found it useful. Please remember to like, share and subscribe for other classic car enthusiasts. Obviously, if you have a TR6 restoration coming up, do let us know. Be more than happy to help. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.